Folks, we're going to get started. We're 4 minutes in. We're going to run through what we see happening in the world. So I'm not going to delay. And Ross is our technical expert here, and he knows everything about Dropbox and HelloSign and security. And we are going to get started. So thanks, Ross.
Thanks. I'm going to quickly start off with a short video, just a minute long, to give us a little bit of context of what we're going to be covering today. So hopefully you're all able to see this.
Today you've responded to dozens of pings, hopped between countless tools, and located that one file in hundreds of emails, chats, and apps. But what if your work had a lot less busy work? That's why we created Dropbox Spaces, transforming your shared folder into a collaborative workspace so you can focus on the real things you need to get done. Spaces helps you be organized by bringing all your content together in one place. Your PowerPoint lives next to your Google Docs, next to your Trello board. It's all searchable. You can even image search based on a description of a photo. And mobile keeps you working on the go. The For You tab helps you stay focused by anticipating what you may need. If you're booking meetings, relevant documents are suggested to attach to invites, and folders and files are smartly suggested before you even know you need them. Dropbox helps you coordinate your team so you can get in sync. Now in Spaces, everyone knows what needs to get done. Descriptions give your team critical context. You can create or complete to-dos and share your thoughts right there. Slack your teammates or join a Zoom meeting, all without leaving Dropbox. Now your team can be organized, stay focused, and get in sync with Dropbox Spaces.
Thanks for that, Ross. Sorry, Ross, just before you get going, folks, just a couple of little tips on using Zoom. If you scroll to the top and you go to View Options and hit the drop down, you'll be able to fit to your side, and you can request a couple of different viewing modes. Also, we had a brilliant interactive session the last day with lots of questions coming in. We would love to see some questions. If you drop them in the chat as Ross goes through his presentation, I will make it nice and interactive, and we will ask the questions. So with that said, Ross, take it away.
Thanks, Mannix. So our agenda for today is to first look at the question, why is work broken? I have a couple of slides to explain why we feel work is broken. And then we're going to move on to how can we fix this using the smart online workspaces with Dropbox. Again, as Mannix said, keep the questions coming in the chat. So when we say work is broken, what we're really referring to is the ability to focus is broken. Why is this ability to focus broken? Well, we have so many different locations now that we can store our files. They can be stored in Dropbox. They could be stored locally. They could be stored on Google Drive, OneDrive, an email attachment. And all of these files are scattered everywhere. And it's very difficult to get work done. And you spend a lot of your time looking for the correct files, the versions of files. And that's just talking about files. Then we have so much choice on applications we use. Now, the average person goes through about 20 different applications from the moment they wake up in the morning till they go to bed, from personal life to work life. And if you just think about it yourself at the moment, you're probably jumping through things like Slack, Teams, Zoom calls, Salesforce, using a Word document, then a PowerPoint presentation. There's so many different documents and different places that we have to go to for all these applications. So on average, we spend about 2.2 hours of our day, which is sort of wasted time, and it's distracted in messages coming into us, looking for the correct files that we need to work on. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to have one place where you can communicate, you can run projects from, and you can have all of your files stored in one place? And that's what we're going to look at today. So how can we fix this? Well, we're going to look at fixing this using the new desktop app from Dropbox. On the left-hand side on this slide here, you'll see the regular Finder for Mac, and it's very similar to if you're using Windows File Explorer. We've used this for years, and this is usually how we interact with files. But now with the new desktop app for Dropbox, you can have all of your files, including cloud files and local files, in one place. So the example here is having our Google files alongside our Office files. And then you can have any file type as well in this location. So any size, from something that is a few megabytes big up to hundreds of gigabytes in size, can all be stored in here. So this is great if you're using large video files. And our example today will touch on that. Also, we're bringing in search. So you have the ability to be able to search across all of these files. And then finally, my favorite part is to be able to connect all of your collaboration tools into the Dropbox application itself. So you can have your Zoom, your Slack, Teams, WhatsApp if you wanted. You can connect all of these and interact with them without having to chop and change and jump from one application to another. So the demo today is going to cover a real world example that myself and Mannix worked on with an event that we ran in Dropbox back in January before everything in the world happened and we're all in lockdown. And today's webinar, we said we were going to give you 3 tips, but we're going to focus on 3 areas of the desktop application. We're going to look at the content area. I'm going to show you how you can store any type of file in Dropbox. We're going to show you how you coordinate a team in a Dropbox space as well by giving descriptions, pinning the most important documents and putting tasks in place. And then the communication on the right-hand side where we have all our applications plugged in. So let's jump straight into it.
Just a quick one there, Ross. Martina has come in and just made a note on the chat here that Teams can be used in the new Dropbox desktop app. It can, Martina, and we're gonna cover that. If you just bear with us a few minutes, we're gonna get to that in a couple of minutes.
Great, thanks.
Just to give a bit, if you just scroll to the top there, Ross, for a second, just to give a bit of context, folks. So Dropbox is a huge supporter of the Dublin cycling campaign. We have about 250 staff in our Dublin office, and we have 15 car parking spaces. So the vast majority of our staff get in and out of the office during normal times, either using bike, walk, or public transport. Dropbox decided to become the main corporate sponsor of the Dublin cycling campaign, which is a campaign for better infrastructure of cycling in Dublin. And as part of that, we wanted to get other companies to join us because we were seeing a lot of issues with people falling off bikes, and a lot of staff were actually getting injured due to poor cycling infrastructure. So we ran a large campaign to bring in people from different companies. Also, we brought in some brilliant speakers from all across Europe to share their best practice. And this is how we organized that project. So it's a real live internal project that we used, but also involved us dealing with people that were external to Dropbox. This is a real live example of how we did it. So I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, Mannix. So this is the folder that we created, Dublin Cycling Campaign Dropbox event. Okay, and just to give you an idea, this still lives in your Finder, and again, or Windows Explorer, the same thing. But if I was to interact with these files in the old way of doing things within the Finder, then there's no context around these files. Imagine that you're new to a project. You get added to a folder. Which are the relevant files for me to work on? Which are the ones that have tasks related to them? There's no context around this. So with the new Dropbox, you can add a lot more functionality around a folder. So first of all, what I want to touch on is the context area. So think about at the top of every folder, you now have a whiteboard where you can add things like descriptions, and you just type them out here. You can add lists. You can even add to-dos. So these were some to-dos that we needed to do for the for the event. And again, as people finish them, they can tick them off. So one of the things I needed to do was add everyone into this team space, which I had done, so I've ticked it off. The example we're going to go through today is my interaction with Joseph on making sure that we finalized the budget and got signed off before the event ran. So you can add all of these in here. And then finally, the last part is you can pin the important files to the top of the folder as well, or the top of the space. So the most important files were the event budget, of course, the event master document. And again, if I wanted to add something else like this one here, I can quickly grab it, pin, and it adds it up as one of my most important files. If you're a Dropbox user already, you might be familiar with Dropbox Paper, and Paper now can be stored within a Dropbox space like every other type of file. And if I open up our master document here, we can see a really detailed plan of exactly what we were trying to do for the event. We have our index on the left-hand side. Apologies. We have our index on the left-hand side. And this is a great place, again, if you want to put a lot more information rather than just the tasks at the top of the folder. And we have all the details that we had, the lead approval that was needed, security, guest names, and so on. So if I just move down here, we can see the fact that we can actually store any type of file. So first of all, I can create any type of file, so Word document or Google documents as well, and they all live in the same place. No need to have to jump from one to the other. And we were using external vendors as well for this event, and it gives the options of whatever type of file people are using, it can all be stored here. So again, in Dropbox, we use Google files and Microsoft files. But you might be working with a vendor and they're a Microsoft house. Well, you want to give them the option to be able to store their files within your space as well. So let's just quickly start up a catering.
This is a key point, folks. Dropbox is the only place where you can store your cloud docs and your traditional files in the same place. There's a generation of people coming out of college that if you think about the old file structure, it's actually based on filing cabinets and drawers, which maybe some people on the call might remember. But for our younger listeners, they do everything in tabs and they do everything in the browser. Dropbox is the only place where these places live in one.
So to continue on my example here, thanks, Mannix. Let's see how we communicate around these files. So as I was saying, I actually had to have a lot of communication with Joseph, and I want to show you the multiple different ways that you can communicate around a file. So we have our event budget here. So the first option, if I wanted for Joseph to look over these, I could mention his name in the comment section, and could I ask him to take a look? He will be notified via Dropbox and email that there's a new task being set by Ross. Now, if you don't want to use our commenting engine and use something like Slack, you can easily send this to a Slack message as well. So I hit the share button and I hit Slack. This will open up our Slack integration, and we had actually had a Slack channel that was created for this. So I can search for the Slack channel. I can even leave a message for Joe to take a look. And I can send that to the Slack channel without leaving Dropbox. If you want to see what this looks like in terms of how it shows up on Slack, if I just scroll across to my Slack, we can click in here. Apologies. And we can see this has appeared here with a nice preview from Dropbox as well. And you can bring this into a conversation within Slack. You're probably saying, well, I don't use Slack, I use Microsoft Teams. Well, we also give you that option as well. And this will highlight the amount of integrations that we have with Dropbox, and we're constantly growing this as well. So if I clicked open with, Dropbox cleverly suggests sort of the top 10 applications that I could use with this particular file type. And again, you can have these switched on and off for your team. If you wanted, you could even turn on WhatsApp and WhatsApp with someone. You could send it via email. We're going to show you what it looks like with Teams. So we click on Teams. It loads it up, brings me to a team window, and very similar to Slack. If I had an event channel, I can send it here. And again, I can ping Joe by putting his name in here. So you can see all of these integrations here, and you can see it appears within Teams now. All of these integrations are at your fingertips, meaning that you can be in your project folder, communicate with your team without having to jump around all the time.
And the real point for us here is that we see the content and the work as where the main focus should be. Anybody who's come back to their desk and seen 270 Slack messages and 300 WhatsApp messages on their phone will know what I'm talking about here. It's very hard to lose focus, lose the information. So we put the content at the very, very center of what we do.
So moving on with this example, let's say myself and Joseph, we've had our meetings, the budget is finalized, and it needs to be signed off by a manager. So we're going to use our HelloSign integration to send this directly to our manager, George, where he can add his signature. And the event, the document will be signed within the space, and it will go back to where it originated from as well. So if I just wanted George to sign this here, load up the document, you can paste his email in, George Carter. And then we can say where we want George to sign on the document. So we just need a quick signature thrown at the top of the document, and we want it dated as well. And then once this is finished, we can hit continue and sign off. And you'll see now in a moment how neat this is and how well this will be sort of documented within the Dropbox space. So if I jump over to George now, in a moment, he'll receive this email from myself asking him to sign. And then we'll go and look at what it looks like from these, from the Slack side, or sorry, from the Dropbox space side, where the document will actually update. Here we go. The document will actually update itself from the same location. So George goes in, he can review the budget. Everything looks good from his side. He adds a signature with a simple click. Insert, continue. And if I jump back to our Dropbox environment now, we're going to see how this actually updates. So you can see there's an in progress hello sign. And now that George has signed this, in a moment, this will actually change from in progress to completed. As you can see, it's loading right now. And once this is done, now you have everything stored in the one location. No need to have things stored, in a hello sign and different locations. Everything is organized in one space. So that's a really good example of being able to communicate with a colleague around a budget document, get the budget completed and signed off using hello sign, and then everything arriving back in the one location. So the day of the event was fast approaching, and the last thing we needed to do, we had some guest speakers. We needed to make sure we had some slides ready for the presentation that was going to happen. So we have our event slides here. And what I'm going to show you next is Dropbox's preview engine. So you mightn't be aware that Dropbox can preview over 170 different file types. So you don't need to open those files in different applications. Some of these applications could be like Photoshop, which is a very expensive license. You can actually open up a Photoshop file, comment on it and view on it without actually having Photoshop. Now, in our example today, we're just going to use PowerPoint, and I'm going to bring up the preview engine, and I can see all the slides, and I can even leave comments on them. So I wanted to have the Dropbox logo added here. So I've asked Mannix to do this for me. Add logo. And then I also wanted to have another logo added here. Again, I'll ask Mannix to do this for the Dublin cycle campaign. So not only am I able to comment on the file, I can actually pinpoint exactly where on the file I want these changes. So Mannix, at his desk, will get a notification on Dropbox and an email saying he has this new task. He can open up in PowerPoint and know exactly where I want to have these changes made.
A really nice point on this as well, folks, is for video. So you can comment at a certain point in time on the video. So anybody who's editing webinars, for instance, who are learning their new webinar skills, you can point at it, you can timestamp it. Ross, just a quick question there from Martina. In the open with section, she didn't see Apple Mail. Can that be added?
As far as I know, yes, it is. I think I have it turned off at the moment. Okay. But I can double check and we can confirm that at the end. So all of these applications that you see here are turned on by my admin. So in the admin section, there's a connected apps area, and you can decide which applications you want your team to be able to view. Again, if you're someone that's using Microsoft Teams, you might want to have other options there like WhatsApp or Slack. So you can turn on and off depending on what your team's needs are.
Great, thanks, Ross. Just folks, I'm conscious, we might run over a little bit of time. I'd just let you know if you have to drop off, we will be sending out the recording afterwards. Just because we started a little bit late. And please keep the questions coming in. We'd love to hear from them.
So finally, the event day came up. We wanted to present this, the event slides up in our office. we have Zoom in all our meeting rooms. And what we did here is we have the integration with Zoom. So Zoom is also connected to my calendar, so it knows exactly where I am at the time. So when I hit on Zoom here, it's going to bring it up. It'll bring up the presentation, and it knew that I was in the Dublin Cycling Campaign event, and I can just hit the present button and it would put it up onto the Zoom room that was in the office. So again, none of this having to try and find the meeting invite, join, then go find the file, then present the file, share your screen. You can do it in a couple of clicks, which is very slick. So that's on in terms of our event slide. So the event went ahead really well. And there was loads of photos that we're taking during the event. So we had a few colleagues taking photos. We had other members that had joined, and we wanted to get all of these photos into one place. So instead of sending an email out and saying, hey, can you send these via Dropbox, or can you send, email attachments? What you can use is a Dropbox file request. And a file request is basically a link that anyone can access. And when they click on the link, they can upload files. And the great thing is all of the files will arrive into one location. So again, cutting down on the amount of time where someone has to go and grab all of these photos from different locations and then store them in one place. Everything comes into one place. So let's say George, for instance, wanted to send this off to Harry. We can compose a mail, ask him to send a file request to here. Please upload photos. And I'm going to show you how easy this is for Harry then to upload photos from his phone. So this is Harry's phone here. And if I go into his inbox, we'll receive this email in a moment. You can click on the link. Nice thing about file requests as well is the person at the other end doesn't need to have a Dropbox account. Once they click on this link, it'll bring them to Dropbox and it'll let them upload files from whatever device they're on.
One of the big use cases we see for this, folks, is in construction for a tender. If you have to request prices from 20 or 30 different contractors, rather than having to collate all that information. We also see it in research and in education. If you say you're a university professor and you have to request submissions in, all the documents come into you collated, time ordered, alphabetical, really nice feature.
So Harry's ready to send these. He hits done, he uploads them, takes a few moments to upload the photos. And again, a lovely part of this is if I go back into our Dropbox environment, you're going to see all of this updating in real time. So in a matter of minutes, you can see, or a matter of seconds, Harry's photos have arrived in. They're all in one place. And again, this link could have been shared with every guest that was at the event. The final piece I just want to show you today is one of our newest features, which is Dropbox transfers. So the event finished and we had photos and we had a large video of the whole event with the presenters as well. And we wanted to share that with everyone that attended. So what you can do is very quickly, you can select any folder or file, and then you can hit send with Dropbox transfer. It will add it to a transfer up to 100 gigabytes in size. So you can actually have, 100 gigabytes is a very large size, and you can also add different security features around expiration dates, or even add a password if you want to the transfer.
Just Ross, on the file request that we mentioned a second ago, just a question in there: is there a virus or security check on the files that are uploaded?
So in terms of there's no virus checking on the files that are uploaded.
And if that was a requirement, how would you deal with that?
So usually what we have, so these files will arrive into your Dropbox folder. Most people are going to have virus protection on their device already, and that folder will be scanned like any other folder within your device. So again, if you're using McAfee or whatever virus protection you're using, if a file was to arrive in there, you'll be alerted by your virus protection.
Okay, so it's not specific. We don't have a specific virus scanner in built, but if somebody has virus protection as part of their overall setup, it would be caught with that.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Thank you very much for the question. Keep them coming in.
So last part I just want to show you then is what does this transfer look like for the end user? And again, this is a really nice feature. When you copy this link, it'll bring you to the transfer page. And you'll notice that I've added a custom logo to the transfer and a nice background to make it feel like it's more of a finished product. And again, if I was just to open this up for the first time, it'll ask me for that security. So I can put 1, 2, 3. And then I can either save them to my Dropbox or download them myself. And again, instead of getting a link just to a folder of a list of files, it makes this feel like it's more of a finished product and much more user-friendly.
So folks, this is what we would see very much out in the world is there's a lot of WeTransfer in businesses. Just a point on this, using Dropbox Transfer, you can transfer up to 100 gigabyte file in one go. You can customize it, you can brand it, and you can secure it. So a big headache that we see in a lot of businesses is people using ad hoc methods of transferring large files or working on large files. And as you know, the world becomes more and more digitized, the files get bigger and bigger and bigger. So file transfer, we have seen a massive uptake in this from our side.
So that's pretty much everything I wanted to show today, Mannix. The last piece I just wanted to show, which is my personal favorite that I use on a day-to-day basis, is our people section on the left-hand side. We say in Dropbox that we work on files, but we work with people. And this is a useful feature where you can select a person that you're working with, and it'll actually bring up the files that you've been working on most recently. So for instance, myself and Mannix have a one-to-one every week. And instead of having to go and find our one-to-one document or something that we've been working on recently, when I join the meeting with him, I click on his name and it'll pull up a list of all his files that we've been working on together. So again, cutting down on the amount of time of trying to locate files and letting us get to work on those files straight away. So to go for a quick recap on what we just covered today. So now you can have all of your files in one place. Microsoft, Google, any size, any type of file, all in one Dropbox Smart Workspace. No need to be jumping around. The next part is you can search all of these different areas from our search bar up the top. Then we can see all the activity of our users within the new Dropbox as well. So when someone is currently in my workspace, their little bubble will highlight and let me know that they're currently in there. And it'll also let me know that I can, quickly click on someone's face and start up a Slack message, for instance. And then my favorite part is the fact that all of my tools are now being connected into one platform. So I have my Slack and Zoom, I have Teams, WhatsApp, everything. And again, this list is growing as the months go on. And our whole goal is to be able to have everyone staying in one window without having to jump around all the time. So it brings everything together, traditional files, cloud files, searching across all of these files, bringing your whole team into one space, and then all of your collaboration tools into one space as well.
Ross, sorry, just a question there. Which browsers will all of this work with? The person who asked the question is aware that MS Teams doesn't work on Safari currently.
As far as I know, I'll have to come back to you on that question there. I'm not sure. I personally use Chrome, and that's what I've been using for the demo today, but we can definitely give you a list of exactly what will work.
So sorry, maybe just to clarify, will the Dropbox desktop app, if people are using a G Sheet and they're using Firefox or they're using Safari, will it be able to work in that regard?
Yes, it will. Yes,
yeah.
It will. So, the thing with Teams is it doesn't work on Safari at the moment. If you had downloaded the desktop version of Teams, instead of it opening up in the browser like it did today, it would actually open up in the Teams app, which would be installed on your device.
Okay. So to clarify, the Dropbox piece works with all browsers?
Yeah.
Okay. Great
Correct.
stuff. Okay. Thanks very much.
So this is the last slide we have today. So we said we were going to give you 3 tips for your online workspace with Dropbox Spaces. So our first tip is to bring all your files into one space. Start up a project area, put a description in there as well, and then start adding all of the different files that you use. Try not to be having things that are in email attachments and then some in Google Drive and some stored locally. Start using Spaces to have all of your files in one place. The second tip is to add context to your Spaces. So at the beginning of the demonstration, I showed you can put a description, you can set tasks for each other and pin the most important or favorite files to the top. Again, when you add someone to a project, there's no need to have a meeting with them to explain the folder. It's already explained there for them and they can see and get to work straight away. And then finally, connect all your favorite communication apps. As I said, through the admin console, your admin can turn on these, and then it's up to each end user to link each one. You can use your Dropbox transfers and requests, which is just built into the Dropbox product. HelloSign for e-signature. I showed you how simple that was. Just one click of a button, it brings you to the HelloSign interface. And then the likes of Slack, Teams, and Zoom is all baked into the new Dropbox.
So thanks very much for that, Ross. Folks, we'll stay live for another couple of minutes if anybody has any other questions. Really where we see it, just to go back into our overall view on this, is that files are getting bigger, teams are getting more complex. There are more, your employees are liaising with way more contractors who may not have access to the same software that you have. So we find that if we focus on the content, as opposed to the communication with something where the content gets lost, that reduces the friction out there. I just have another question. There's a person looking for the previous iteration. Yes, we'll send that out to you, no problem. We will send you the previous point on HelloSign. Folks, just let you know, we didn't do a deep dive on security because it's a topic all on its own. So we are going to do a security deep dive on how you secure the file transfers, the file requests, the folders. We're going to dive into single sign-on. We're going to look at integrations with your Active Directories, and that will be in the next episode, which is this time next week. Just one last question there, Ross. Is it possible to have a space template?
Currently, no, but this is actually something that I've requested from our engineers, and it's in the working at the moment. So you could create a template and then use it again and again. It's not, but it's been asked for and it is being worked on at the moment.
Okay, that's great, Ross. So watch this space, folks, to use a terrible dad joke. Folks, any last questions before I let everybody go? Speak now, or let me just have a look here on the questions. We will make all these available, the previous recordings. Thank you very much for attending today, and stay safe and have a great rest of your day. So thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Bye.